Hey everybody, Brian Zane here. I hope you're having a great holiday season. You know what? It is the season of giving, also the season for receiving. It's time once again to open up the viewer mailbag, and I got a whole lot of stuff this time around. Let's see what our wonderful viewers have sent us this time around. It's like another Christmas day for me, and I'm Jewish, so whee! Now, one thing I thought was very interesting to start things off here, I got more than one COVID test sent to me in the mail. I don't know who it came from, but somebody must have thought enough about me to maybe send some COVID tests my way, because maybe they were just concerned about me and my health, or maybe it's because my channel's just so fucking sick. Oh yeah, I went there. Yep, these are in fact COVID-19 tests, and according to this, they are good until March of next year. So hey, thanks so much to whoever sent these to me. I appreciate you looking out. Something else that you might have noticed if you're a recurring viewer of these mailbag videos is that I've got apparently a real hardcore fan base in the state of Pennsylvania. I've been getting, mysterious pamphlets for tourism sites / jail ministries in that state in the last year or so. I've been doing this, and now it's gotten to the point where I'm getting inundated with mail from Pennsylvania. And so I decided to lump these all together and just see, it could be just one person sending me these things. It could be 8 people. It could be like the whole devil situation. Who really knows what the reveal is for this, but I'm curious to see what y'all from the wonderful state of Pennsylvania have for me this month. For starters, we have this postcard from Hershey, Pennsylvania, the site of In Your House 5 Seasons Beatings. No one is signing this postcard, but it says, Z-Man, Lebanon County loves you, especially Anvil, home of the Lethal Weapon. Of course, that being Steve motherfucking Blackman. WWW will never be mid, says Samson Sassafras from Lebanon, Pennsylvania. I think, considering the handwriting here, I'm gonna guess these are the same person. Come for a tour, leave with an experience. The Amish experience? Or what about the Turkey Hill experience? 3 different antique malls. And finally, the Holiday Inn and Suites in Wyomissing? All right, Wyomissing. Thanks so much, James. And finally, rounding out this pack of stuff, we actually have physical, mail in a box delivered to us from the same area of Pennsylvania. Let's see what lurks inside. All right. BZ, strong opener. Got some of these wrestling superstars posters with AEW, kind of an LGN AEW throwback. We've got, oh boy, a CM Punk poster. That's very relevant and timely. Oh, this is neat. It's a whole bunch of little comic books from those WWE Masters of the Universe crossover toys. And finally, this copy of WWE 12 for the Nintendo Wii. Blaze, Samson, whatever your name is, man, my #1 fan from Lebanon, PA. Thank you very much for the well wishes. Thank you very much for the pamphlets and all that good stuff. You know what? If I'm ever in Pennsylvania for a gig, I have a few ideas of where to visit. Taking a quick letter break. First, we got a couple of cards from frequent sender of cards, Daniel in Michigan. He writes in one of these cards about, his thoughts on CM Punk and all the controversy that came about with his firing. He talks about he was never really a CM Punk fan. Great on the mic, so-so in the ring. Too much Hulk Hogan complex. Yeah, well, like I discussed in my CM Punk and AEW video, which dropped very recently on this channel, it's unfortunate the way it all shook down, and people can say, they can assign percentage of blame to whoever and say this or that about CM Punk, and AEW, I hope will be able to recover basically after everything that happened, all the time they invested in CM Punk. I hope WWE gets something out of their investment. I sincerely hope, that everyone is happy and everyone is able to move on, whether it's WWE, CM Punk, AEW, Tony Khan, what have you. I just hope that we can all kind of get over these things and just get along and enjoy the wrestling that we're all here to watch, damn it. Trevor from Chicago sends me a postcard here. Nice use of the Star Wars Rogue Squadron comic book art for your postcard back here. He says, congratulations on a decade of wrestling with regret. He asks, what are some of your favorite Homestar Runner shorts and songs? And would you be open to a collaboration with the Chapman brothers, the men who were responsible for Homestar Runner stuff? He even draws a couple of Homestar characters on this card, but it says artwork by The Cheat. Of course, Homestar Runner is one of my favorite pieces of just internet history from the time I was in high school all the way up until today. I've always been a big fan of it and the cartoons. I mean, hell, I have Strong Bad tattooed on my arm to give you an idea of how much I appreciate these cartoons. As far as my favorite ones go, I mean, I love all of the Strong Bad emails where there's some catastrophic thing that happens to his computer and it forces him to upgrade to a slightly, more up-to-date computer, but still very dated for the times, doing against the computer virus, and Bubs has to shoot it with a gun or whatever. One of my favorite songs is like, Fisheye Lens. I love the Strong Badia anthem. I love the Trogdor theme, obviously, Because It's Midnight by Limousine. So many classic bits from that whole website, and I would be lying to you if I didn't try and mold the Wrestling with Regret universe in some way loosely inspired from like the Homestar Runner world, where there's characters and there's bits and there's cutaways and stuff. I always like to think that some of the humor of this channel is inspired by Homestar Runner. And if the Brothers Chaps ever were down to do a collaboration with a little YouTuber like me about pro wrestling, then sure, I'd be down for it. Another one I also enjoyed was the Strong Bad email where they actually do some professional wrestling, and you've got Il Cartographer / Garden Boy. So many great little bits. It's way too many to mention here on this video about Homestar Runner, but I appreciate getting a letter from somebody who also appreciates it. And the last letter I received is from Sean in British Columbia. All right, keeping with the theme of fans mailing me informational pamphlets for local attractions in their area, Seth has sent me one here for Columbia Gardens Winery. Enjoy the wine in and amongst the vines during an overnight stay at the Grape Escape Guest House. Is it like an escape room where there's just drinking wine involved? I'm not even into wine or escape rooms, but I think I'd be willing to try that combination. Seth has a couple of ideas for reviews here. The first one he talks about is the original XPW, Rob Black's incarnation. Brother, let me tell you the number of times I have been requested to talk about XPW and the number of times I've thought about covering XPW, but man, that is such a big history and a big world that I think is gonna be, it's always been something I've been terrified to cover just because of the scope of it. Compared to all the other like dead feds that I've covered over the years, it's always been a really short run relatively. I think the company that I covered with like the longest lifespan was probably, the Herb Abrams UWF, but even then I skimmed over a lot of it. And so I wanna do an XPW review justice. If there's one thing I do before I'm done doing this channel, man, I do want to do a retrospective on the original XPW because, there's a lot more to it than just like the violence and the blood and the crazy spots. There was legitimate wrestling there as well. In fact, one of the earliest VHSs I owned as a wrestling fan was the XPW compilation tape called We Wrestle. Mr. Nanny, yes, there's always plenty of Hulk Hogan dreck that I can cover, and Mr. Nanny would be one of the last big early Hogan films to cover at some point. Perhaps for the next time I do Hulkamania, though it's not happening this May, I'll say that much. Got a few more packages to round things out. This first one comes to us from Sean in Dublin, Ireland. Oh, this is neat. So the first thing I see here is one of those cool like holographic cards that makes this kind of noise and you put your fingernail against it. And it's for the WWE Live tour they did over in England and Ireland this past year, the summer tour. That's neat. He also sent this issue of What Culture magazine. It's kind of a year-end edition they published at the end of 2016. This is a really cool thing, a lot of year-end awards and retrospectives. The artwork in here that What Culture was putting out around this time I always appreciated. Some WCPW coverage as well. Some editorials from some good friends of mine in the former What Culture, now Cultaholic camp. And yeah, this is a neat little piece of wrestling history. Nice little time capsule as well. Speaking of What Culture and all that stuff, I never realized Adam Blampied actually published 2 How Wrestling Should Book books. This is new to me, but I was always fascinated by a lot of Blampied's, rebooking or how WWE should book so-and-so kind of videos back in the day. Of course, a lot of people first got exposed to my channel when I invaded the how WWE should have booked the invasion storyline many years ago. So that thread of videos has a near and dear place to my heart, and it's cool that these books were published and now I get to read some of this. So thanks for that, Sean. Look at this. Oh my goodness. It's a little tiny Blue Universal Championship with the Superstar Experience side plate. So Sean, I'm guessing, was one of those cool fans that got the extra perks and goodies and stuff with his ticket to the WWE show. This is a neat little, it's a good little, I think it fits on your wrist. Feels like a wristbandy sort of thing. Let's try that on. There we go. Yeah, and I just need to work out a lot and get this wrist a bit bigger, but yeah. Oh, this is my favorite thing in the world. So this is a picture he sent me. It's a screen capture from one of the Quizlemanias I was a part of. And old Luke was having a problem logging in that day. And so at one point he logged in and out, but he had like 2 accounts open at the same time. And everyone else involved just could not handle it. Sean Ross Sapp couldn't handle it. Alex Queen of the Ring, Denise Salcedo, Ollie Davis, Blampier, Steven Larson. We were all having a good old time. We got the sillies out early in this one. And ultimately, I think it was me and Alex who were a team on this one, and sadly did not come through on this day. I peaked the first Quizlemania I ever did, and I've been just yearning to capture that magic again ever since. And then he wraps it up with a list of suggestions for topics for reviews, like Mr. Kennedy in WWE. Stay tuned for that one in 2024. How Vince dismantled the territories, the worst hybrid themes, Ric Flair in TNA, Team Canada in WCW, the guest host era, heel Michael Cole, and many more. We'll tell you what, some of these are definitely like on our radar of like a short list of like topics we want to cover in 2024. Some of these I hadn't thought of before, but overall, this is a really cool like pack-o stuff. So thank you once again, Sean. I appreciate this. We got ourselves a hefty package of stuff here from Aaron in South Carolina, who has sent some stuff before. Let's see what he brings to the table this time around. He's packed a lot of DVDs and CDs in here, which is good because ever since I heard that, WWE is abandoning physical media altogether, now's the time to hold on to this shit. There apparently is a CD soundtrack to Hitman Hart Wrestling with Shadows, the famous documentary that was filmed at the same time as the Montreal Screwjob. This is neat. I didn't realize there was a score that was available for sale. This will be fun, just, ambient music viewing. Oh, this is neat. There's a little book here, Abraham Lincoln Pro Wrestler. This is cool. This is definitely meant for younger readers. This is definitely something I think that especially my oldest will appreciate, and I might get to read this to my youngest, and I think this is a perfect combination, a perfect kind of topic, given, who's in this family. Okay, there's Sting, Moment of Truth, which I have covered here before on this channel, and also SummerSlam 2007, Triple H and King Booker, sign me up. Unforgiven 2008, best known for the show that had 3 championship scramble matches, and then they killed the gimmick and they almost never did it again. Ooh, before they were superstars, both volumes. Oh my goodness, this is cool. So back in the day when like WWE had their Confidential series, they would occasionally post like snippets from this kind of series, like a before they were stars kind of story deal. And now they're all collected here into 2 great DVD sets. There's like Stacy Keibler, Kurt Angle, Edge and Christian, Spike Dudley, Shawn Michaels, Rob Van Dam. This is great. Oh, look at that young Taz there. Prom Night Jones over here. Even more DVDs. They got the entrance videos, Ramped Up, Volume 1. The Spectacular Legacy of the AWA. Oh, here we go. A Full Impact Pro DVD kind of slipped in the midst of all these WWE ones. And speaking of WWE, here is a Legends of Wrestling Hulk Hogan versus Bob Backlund special. Okay, the last of the DVDs, as far as I can see here, there's the famous Monday Night War documentary, along with, there was the Ric Flair special, there was, Rise and Fall of ECW, and this, the Monday Night War documentary, really, I remember elevating WWE's like home video release department to really new, previously unforeseen heights. This was one of the big stories that got a lot of traction, was this DVD. Got No Way Out 2007, and the main event was kind of a double preview for WrestleMania that year, where you got Shawn Michaels and John Cena teaming up against Batista and The Undertaker. It's one of the few times Cena and The Undertaker ever did battle at that point in their careers. Aaron sent us a couple of books as well. First off, never heard of this one before. We promised you a great main event, an unauthorized WWE History by Bill Hanstad. stock. I gotta say, when I hear the words WWE and unauthorized in the same sentence, I am given pause, but I'm curious to see what this book's all about. Oh, this is really cool too. An Encyclopedia of Women's Wrestling, 100 profiles of the strongest in the sport by LaToya Ferguson. This is really neat. You know, there's not a whole lot of literature, as far as I can tell, that's out there exclusively covering women's wrestling. So to have something like this, where you've got this very well done and well edited book here, highlighting all the top stars you can think of, and current, past and present. It's all alphabetized. I'm sure there's going to be plenty of names in here that will be, new for many folks, myself included. But it's definitely got a good range of like the current women that are wrestling, the ones who kind of came before them, the previous generation, and of course stuff even before that, going back to the 80s and beyond. I'm sure there's more to it than this, but this is still really cool, and it's a good primer on, at the very least, a lot of the women who are, relevant today, and the ones who also kind of paved the way for the ones who are today. He does ask in the letter, how can I get one of those Superstar Billy Graham posters? I gotta go back and watch the mailbox video where I got one of those posters, because I'm not entirely sure. I guess you just have to find a good enough high res or something close to it image online and just get it printed out, because that's what happened when I got the poster. So I'd love to get an original, but I'm sure those cost a pretty penny. But thanks so much for the stuff, Aaron. I really appreciate the letter and all the DVDs and whatnot you sent me. A lot of really interesting gems this time around. Thank you much. We are rolling our way towards the end as we get a package from Roland in Connecticut. Oh, very cool. A graphic novel detailing the rise of the New Day, Power of Positivity. This is really cool. It's from Boom Studios. I didn't know they had one for the New Day. Again, the artwork here is very cool. I love the fact you can make out who people are, because that's not always the case when you look at wrestling comic books over the years. We've actually got a couple of, ECW CDs, plural. I had no idea there was more than one. The first one is ECW Extreme Music, which as far as I know, there's a lot of covers of some of the famous songs here. Like there's Motorhead's version of Enter Sandman, Muscadine's version of Big Balls, not the ones you're familiar with intimately. And then another album of theirs with themes, and they're advertising, new music and remixes. I didn't even know this album existed, but it came out, Anarchy Rocks, came out in 2001, which was the year ECW went under. So that's probably a reason why I never knew they made a second album. He's got a few questions here in this letter. He asks how I would compare Dark Side of the Ring to every WWE documentary under the sun. Well, I will say, WWE has certainly in more recent years not been afraid to kind of pull back and see some of that seedy, unflattering stuff about some of its wrestlers, especially if it serves the plot and everything. You have to keep in mind with any documentary, there's always going to be some kind of bias, some kind of slant, some kind of editorial choice that might, change things up a little bit or show the slant, show the bias. I think WWE's documentaries in the last several years are just going way above and beyond what they used to be, and I think that is really to be commended. But the Dark Side of the Ring stuff, aesthetically speaking, in terms of vibe, in terms of topic, they're really doing things that nobody else in that particular field, that particular part of the industry was doing. And so I think Dark Side of the Ring kind of opening people's eyes to stories that they might not get from official WWE, stories, that sort of thing, and also doing it in a way that is so stylistically different from what you're used to seeing in wrestling docs around this time. I think they've definitely carved out a really cool niche for themselves. And finally, this last package comes to us. It's very lightweight, as you can see. It comes to us from the Feathered Friends Factory in Washington State. Hey Brian, we're big fans of your videos here at Feathered Friends. We wanted to send you a little something for keeping us entertained here at the factory. It's our camping travel pillow called a geoduck. Oh man, is this like, yes. This is really neat. Thank you very much, the folks at Feathered Friends in Washington, for giving me this gift. This is really neat. Thank you. We're gonna wrap this video up with a couple of late entries that came just after I filmed the previous part. This one comes from Roland yet again. He brought me a Bullet Club Gold shirt, as well as a couple of Blu-rays and this graphic novel called Do a Powerbomb. It says it's The Wrestler meets Dragon Ball Z. This looks awesome. I cannot wait to dive into this one. And then this comes to me from new patron Patreon backer Paul up in Canada. He gifted me a couple of new packs of card and dice games from Filsinger Games. These are called Legends of Wrestling and Champions of the Galaxy, which is kind of a wrestling-inspired game in and of itself. But these games are all about booking your own fantasy matches and basically making your own promotion using your imagination. Fun piece of trivia, the artist of these games has actually made a few of my t-shirts over the years. Thanks so much to those guys, and thank you to everyone else who submitted great stuff to me these last couple of months for the mailbag. I had a real fun time opening these things up, had a lot of really neat gems, a lot of books I'm excited to read, and not just that, but the rest of the great items as well as the cards and letters y'all have sent showing your appreciation is definitely felt here at Wregret HQ, which makes this as good a time as any to announce that starting next year, I will no longer be doing viewer mailbag videos for the time being. You know, obviously I still like and appreciate all that you guys send me. I will still be accepting fan mail. However, I will be taking a break from making videos where I do unboxings for a while. I decided that one of my resolutions in 2024 is to refocus my efforts on other kinds of content here on this channel. You know, not just the main channel, but also the Patreon page as well, and try and give the backers there more bang for their buck, so to speak. And I think that doing that and kind of cutting back on videos like this will help me refocus those efforts. But regardless, I still had a great time the last couple of years opening up the viewer mailbag and seeing the really neat and creative and thoughtful things that you all sent me over the years. Kind of looking back at those videos as I'm wrapping this video up, it's been a lot of fun. A lot of the things that I've unboxed in these videos are still prominently placed in my office and, you know, places of distinction, and bring me really great memories. And another one of my resolutions for next year is to keep doing what I'm doing, working my hardest to bring you some of the best wrestling YouTube content out there. I feel like I'm learning something and getting better at this every single year, and now a decade plus behind me, hopefully a long time to go ahead of me. And of course, another year has passed, and it's just great to look back at some of the fantastic accomplishments this channel has achieved in the last year, some of the great opportunities that I've had. 2023 is definitely going to go down as one of my favorite years in recent memory, and I hope you all feel the same way. Thanks once again so much for your support, folks. I'm Brian Zane, and I'll see you in the new year.